And that's what makes me continue to like work in the field and continue to want to inspire people, because I feel like once you start giving back and building that community, it's just like you become unstoppable. The same with what you've built, you know, we've all built up our own communities, and it's like so empowering. So yeah, I'm really excited for the future.
This has been like better than therapy.
I know.
There've been quite a few instances where I was shocked by the lack of women in the room, and sometimes I'll be, oh no, there are quite a few women. Oh no, they're serving the drinks. That's it. So you know, it's you say, oh okay, so where are they? I know there was one launch I went to, and the room must have been filled with, I think there was maybe a couple of hundred journalists all there, because they were from all across Europe, and there was myself and one other woman.
It's a whole shrouding around money, you know, around pay. Yeah. And so here you are working as a journalist in a big city. I was living in New York City, and some of the day rates that I was being offered, you know, just coming into photography were really low. And I'm looking at other photographers who are traveling around the world. They have 5 cameras in their bag. They have the whole row of lenses. They have everything. So I'm just like, well, where is this disparity coming from? What is really happening here? And what is going on with issues around class? You know, what's going on with issues around access? You know, because I am not figuring out, it's not adding up on how I'm supposed to make a living.
Yeah, absolutely. On the representation thing, like one thing that's shocked me before, and is even like right now, like currently, when you just like look online and you see certain camera brands or like companies, and there's like, okay, I've just looked through 5 pages worth of advertising about your kit. I've not seen a woman with a camera in their hand yet. Oh, there's a woman. Oh no, she's the model in the shot for the camera. And I'm like, what? Like, it's crazy, like crazy.
Do you think there are a lot of women though that want to do it?
It's not like there's a lack of women that are very capable with the camera in their hand to be doing the thing. So it's crazy now that the marketing around it is still not caught up yet. And it's like, okay, like, yeah, we can't see women there. It's definitely changing, and there's been an amazing, I think, emphasis on that recently. But it doesn't take long for you to find a certain website or company and you're like, oh, do women not use cameras? Because that's what this is suggesting.
I think it's a lot of women want to be in the industry, but then there's also the next hurdle of being in front of the camera in the industry as well, the online hate and the criticism and the misogyny that you're going to get from online. So there's one like kind of phase of going into the industry, and then there's the next phase of putting yourself online that I'm in the industry as well, because I remember working in the industry, which was difficult, and then feeling quite confident, and then going on social media during lockdown and thinking, wow, like this is like opened a whole can of worms. 100%. I would do one video and a male content creator would make one very similar, and he would get really positive comments, and all of mine were very negative. Yeah. So, you know, I did notice the difference, like, oh wow, man, that's so cool. And then like, oh, Jenny's messing around with the camera equipment, you know, what are you doing? Yeah. You know, so I did notice there was such a change, and I feel like there are more female content creators now, but I still feel like it's very intimidating for a woman to walk on set. And even if you're starting out and you want to get work experience, but to walk on set in a male industry and to feel like you deserve to be there. Yeah. And I think there's a lot of very, very talented women with cameras that don't end up pursuing that in the career because of how hard it is to be taken seriously. And I think there's a lot of talented people that we just never see because of that. Yeah, I think it's a constant battle. You know, like, I feel like anyone could say anything to me now and it wouldn't affect me because I've heard it all. Yeah. But it's sad to have got to that point.
Yeah, it's sad you have to be like, oh, I've got really thick skin now, I'm good. But it's like, it's not like great advice, yeah.
But it shouldn't be like that. No. And I think I was very naive going into the industry, thinking like I was just going to be treated the same as everyone else. And I think that's kind of sad as well. And I think one of the reasons I go and do talks in universities and stuff was because when I was at university, there was no one for me to look at and think, oh wow, like they're doing well, like they look like me, or like they're a female. Yeah. So now I try and make time to go in and be like, you can actually do it. And it's a small amount of us, but hopefully the the more that we do, you know, and the more the brands also, you know, they need to start backing women a bit more, because it's not just that, but they need to start thinking about, oh, why is there just men on the website? You know, there's been companies that have reached out to me and they're like, oh, we really want to work with you because we need to work with a female. Oh, right, okay, yeah, right. I'm so talented, but basically it's a female card, you know, and I'm like, all right, okay. It's not, you know, the best feeling in the world, so, yeah.
I think, I mean, one of the things also that I've noticed that I'm completely upset with is like when we do have women and we're being supported, the way that they speak about women is completely different. If they talk about men, he's an expert. He knows what he's doing, he's great. But the way they talk about women, it doesn't matter what level. You could have like really big photographers, but they would never put them, if they're a woman, as experts. And I would like to see that kind of communication changing.
I mean, I've definitely turned up places where I'm literally directing a thing for TV and people have said, so when's the cameraman coming? And I'm like, no, I'm also shooting that. Like, that sounds mad, but it's literally happened many times.
All the time. Every time I show up to an assignment and they're looking for the photographer, when I have all of my cameras on my shoulder. I have 3 cameras on my shoulder and they're looking for the photographer. And also there was another time where I was on a team working on a project, all photographers, and I, you know, just assumed that everyone was paid the same amount. And when I found out what I was paid as opposed to what one of the guys were paid, it was astronomical. It wasn't a couple of dollars. It was thousands more, which was incredibly sad to me. Same job. Yeah.
When I worked in sales, it was in the shop. I never did anything about this either because I was 18 and I just got the job and I had no idea what to do or how to do it. And there was a guy at the company who was really well respected. He was an older guy and I got on with him, okay. And I was like an 18-year-old, you know, girl working in a shop, and I was trying to get some camera kit out of a cupboard for someone, and he walked past me in the shop with a customer and her child and slapped my ass. And told me to get out of the way. And I genuinely was like, and just, I had no idea what to do. And it has bothered me. It used to bother me because it felt uncomfortable for ages and I didn't know what to do. And I knew the company would say he was joking and would do nothing about it. I was very aware that wouldn't go anywhere. But now as an adult, it bothers me because I'm fuming that I didn't do anything about it. And yeah, if that was me now, that would be a very different response to that situation. But that shocked me, and I think then set me up for things to become less shocking, which is, again, what you said, Jenny. Sad.
Shame, yeah.
You get that thick skin because you become aware of all the different times that sort of stuff happens. But yeah, that was probably the one where I was like, oh, this isn't great.
Yeah, no, I had similar situations when I'm in a studio, people walk in the studio, I'm the photographer, I'm holding the camera, I have my assistants, and people are just looking, where is the photographer? And I'm like, I'm standing here. And then they backtrack themselves and they're like, oh, okay, hi, nice to meet you.
I think for me, one of the things I remember the most was when I went to university, and I'd been to an all-girls school up until this point. So we'd done media and film together and everything. So I go to university after everyone's saying, don't do film, you know, it's a waste of money. And I walk in like really happy and naive Jenny walking in, and there's about 200 faces looking back at me, and there was about, I think, like 2 or 3 women in there and the rest were all men. And I remember thinking for like that split second, thinking, have I made it like a mistake here? Am I not supposed to be in this room? And I just remember every time doing like, you know, because I'm a girly girl and stuff, so they're like, oh, she doesn't know what she's doing. And we'd do group projects, and you know, I'd get singled out, and then the lecturers wouldn't take me seriously. And so it was just like, it started off from there, you know, and it happens on set. You know, they walk past you and they walk to like my male assistants, you know, what are we doing today? And I'm like, and he's like, well, ask Jenny, she's the one in charge. And I do think now I can laugh about it and be like, but at the beginning, especially when you're trying to put a name for yourself, it is just like you're constantly like banging on this brick wall and you're like, listen to me, take me seriously.
It's that visibility thing that it comes down to, though, doesn't it? Because it's not all men, like you say, don't do it.
Yeah, that's what I mean.
And it's not male, female, but it's a cultural thing, because we become used to seeing, you know, older white men holding the camera, doing that job.
Well, that's where the cameraman comes from. It's like a cameraman. And also, it's not just men.
No.
women.
Yeah.
And I know we don't talk about this, but there's been jobs where I've gone to film and they've been like, oh, it's a female filming. You know, there's been women there and they're like, they don't feel as comfortable because as humans, we like, you know, things that we recognize, things that we're used to. Yeah. So we're used to a guy coming up with a camera and then you got this woman and they're like, oh, you sure, you know, she can film it. So there is like that ingrained misogyny within all of us. I've done it where I've worked on set and I've seen someone and I've been like, snap out of it, you know, because I've been like, what? It's really frustrating because we're so used to it being like a male thing, you know, you've got all this technology, these lenses and you know, batteries and like everyone's like all technical or it must be a guy thing. And I do feel like, even for myself, I'm like, yo, you can't do that.
It's even in the language, right? You have to constantly like correct yourself and
Filmmakers, bro.
You know, even cameraman.
Yeah, that's it.
You know, like we always try and say op and, you know, things like that. But you do, there's just the odd time you catch yourself because it's a turn of phrase more than anything else, you know.
I mean, I'm trying to change as I get older, so it becomes a little bit more identifiable. But to me, when I was getting into photography, I used to just look at male photographers. And for me to be good, I had to take pictures like them. But then I thought, no, I don't even need to take, I mean, I know this sounds bad, but I don't even need to take good pictures because to me, good pictures means that other people are going to accept my pictures. I just want to take the pictures that I want and I want to be myself. I don't need to be a man to be good.
Yeah, but it's exactly like what I think, like what you're saying, like we like what we know as like humans, and like I think I've never been around as many women filmmakers and photographers ever than I have in the last year. And like suddenly, like I feel like I've noticed a shift in myself that even when I'm working and things like this, like I know it's kind of social media. I know it's got a lot of evils to it, but also it's kind of unreal for the fact that now on a daily basis I see like loads of people like out shooting, and I'm like, it's becoming like normalized even to me to see there's other women, even if it's not in my like everyday real life, like where I'm based up in Scotland, like there's maybe still a lack of women shooting and in technical roles, but yeah, I've never been around it so much as I have now. So now I feel like my own attitude's like it's like super accepting, because now it's like, yeah, of course there's loads of women camera ops and shooting. It's becoming normalized like every day, to be honest.
When we talk about like the masters of photography, it's always the guys, you know, the foundation of photography, the photographers that, you know, kind of pioneered all of these different types of forms and genre, always men, you know, and I always like to remind myself of the women who were at the foundation, who were also adding to our art form. You know, there were many of them. And I think it's important for us to understand that, you know, this is an ideology and we need to push back at it. Anybody can hold these kind of thoughts, these anti-women thoughts, men and women, and we have to challenge that within ourselves and when we encounter it in our work environments as well.
I feel like there is some element, I mean, TV and like filmmaking, photography is like tiring enough, but I feel like sometimes as a woman, you're like trying to prove yourself every day, and it's exhausting. Trying to prove yourself is exhausting, but like every day you're trying to be better so that people think that you deserve to be there. And I feel like, yeah, I'm constantly trying to like prove my worth in a space and prove my worth at a certain level in my career, blah, blah, blah. And it's like, it's so tiring, but like it gives you like a chip on your shoulder that you gotta be better every day. And the way I've explained it before is like, sometimes I think on like a TV set, like a man who just turns up with a camera or whatnot, because historically that's who looks like should have the job. They're assumed good until the rushes or the footage proves otherwise. Whereas a woman turns up, it's like, wonder how they're going to be. And you're already like needing to prove yourself until the footage says, no, actually they're good. So it's like the complete opposite. Like, and yeah, the proving yourself every day is like, it's tiring.
You know, this goes into the topic of community. Who, you know, because sometimes when we're making work, it's very isolating. But who are the people that we can lean on, that we can counsel with, that are mentoring us or we're mentoring too? Because I think that when we are in community with people who are supporting us, reminding us of our unique perspective and our unique talents, that, you know, those things are very fortifying. You know, so I think that seeking out community is also part of our practice and also part of our survival.
And I was like super stoked when you said that you started that organisation, because I was like, whoa, I've been following this for years. And you were like, that organisation, you started that. I was like, wow, that's so cool, because like it's like been so prominently something I've known about, seen the hashtags, found other female photographers from it. Yeah, so you're like, oh yeah, I started this. I was like, okay, cool.
Isn't it inspiring to know that you can start your own institutions? You can start your own institutions. You know, you can take charge of a piece of this industry and start something that's going to grow and benefit so many people. And we need to remember that as well. Yeah.
It's a term that a lot of people struggle with. They feel that everyone has the same opportunities, or everyone is open to apply. But then we find that when people apply and they get the jobs, it's always the same type of people. And to me, it's important to carry on and then looking out to have that inclusivity, because it doesn't just come.
No.
You need to invite it, you need to find it. We don't have the same opportunities, we don't come from the same class. So supporting that is very important, but I've got a feeling that it's kind of disappearing slowly and going back a little bit to the way it used to be before. And I think it needs to be protected.
I had some friends at college who sort of all had that same opinion. I was, you know, had it in my head. And then I met someone a few years ago, and they just said something that really switched my mind. So they talked about a pendulum swing. And they were like, the pendulum has been swinging one way for so long that unfortunately, to get a pendulum back to center, it has to swing the other way first and then come back a little bit more. And, you know, and you do have to have that other side of it in order to get a central. And it really changed my mind on it, because it's something I'd been idealistic and I hadn't considered that. And I think it's important to be realistic about.
It can be uncomfortable to talk about, like, we need to do something to make things better for people that maybe aren't typically get those jobs. Like, it can be difficult. But then similar to that, the way someone put it to me once was, it's not about giving a certain group an advantage, it's about recognizing that there's a deficit. So it's about just bringing things back up. And once it was explained to that, like, I could visualize it. This is not an advantage, because we need to accept that they're already at a disadvantage.
Exactly.
So that really changed my way of thinking about it. And I was like, yeah, it is sometimes uncomfortable to think about these things, but like, that's not going to make it not true. So.
And you're going to miss talent.
Yeah.
Like, there's so much talent that if you don't do that, and there's so many people who are going to be watching this who are maybe a bit younger and aren't sure. And if you are watching this and you're sitting in that position and you're thinking, oh, I don't know if this is the industry that I maybe want to go into because of these reasons, actually, like, we're sort of trying to help with that. You know, the more people that you show we get into these positions, or, you know, we're doing this work, and there's thousands of other women, you know, who aren't at this table who are doing that same thing. You know, there's so much talent that, you know, comes through every year. There's more and more talent, and we'll lose it if we don't have women involved in the conversation. We'll lose images that are yet to be created that are important, and we need everyone, men and women, and everyone in between, to be coming to those conversations. And if half of the people aren't there, then we lose images.
If all the people making the decisions are the same,
Yes.
they're continually going to pick the people that they recognise, that they think are good, because the way they recognise good is in a particular set, and so therefore they need to be pushed outside of their little Venn diagram to another circle. And
You need to go and find them. You need to find talent. The talent, you can't just wait for the talent to come to you, because it's always the same talent. It's always from the same school. It's always your friend, your nephew. So you have to go and find those people, because they don't get the same opportunities, they don't have the same circles of opportunities, and you need to find those people.
If you're watching this, use this video as a platform. Like, get in the comments if you're creating stuff, right? Get in the comments and be like, right, I'm making this, or check out my YouTube channel, or, you know, come and put yourself out there. Why not? Like, if you've got some questions, put them in the comments. I'm personally going to be checking all the comments for this video. So if you want some advice, or like, I can hit these guys up and be like, so-and-so's asked this, like, pop it in there, because that's what we need to be doing, right? We need to, you know, people need to put themselves out there, and we help them as much as possible come through. That's important.
But I think it also starts in, like, the education
Definitely.
part. So, like, in
100%.
schools, educating the younger generation.
Yeah, absolutely.
Like, what they can do. That it's not based on, like, oh, go and do this job. Like that, there's so many opportunities available. And then I also think it comes down to, like you're saying about people's backgrounds and things, because like when I went and bought my first camera, it took me years to save up for it, and I was still in a lucky position to do that.
Yeah.
And not many people are. Camera equipment, even now, is really expensive, but I do feel like sometimes we limit ourselves thinking, oh, I can only start once I get this camera. And I think you can still do it on your phone. You can still find other ways to do it. We need to kind of educate people. And with the new generation of, you know, social media and things, you can become a filmmaker just from using your phone.
Yeah.
And that can open so many other avenues. It doesn't have to start with a camera. And it definitely do not get into debt buying a camera body, because you've also got like the lenses, the batteries, the tripods, the microphones, the lights. There's so many things to go into it. And MPB, they do secondhand as well. And I buy a lot of my stuff secondhand, and it saves a lot of money. So I think sometimes people's limitations aren't just, oh, I'm a woman. It's also, how the hell am I going to afford a camera and all of this other stuff.
Working with that older kit's a really good point as well, because if you don't look at things, you know, books from 2008 or short films from 2005, and be like, oh, well, they're rubbish now. That's not how it works. You don't do that. So, you know, understanding that you can get, you know, one of the, you know, the 5D Mark II, you know, everyone's such a big fan. Get, you know, that started out be great for video. It's not like you look back at that stuff now and go, oh, well, looks rubbish now. You don't. Nobody thinks that. So
things will always look better. Like even though we were buzzing on the FX6 and that's like the camera, but maybe hard to imagine. Maybe there'll be a camera with Spert one day.
Yeah.
X6 is a great camera, but it's not great for every environment.
Yeah.
You know, I wouldn't use it for every shoot. If I'm traveling, I'd probably have something else. And I also think I could give not crappy, but a beginner camera to someone who's really good at their job, and they can make it look top notch. Because a lot of the time it's not about the specs, it's about the storytelling, the composition, the sound design, the lighting. There's so many other aspects that go into it rather than just a camera. And I think we all get fixated on like, oh, we need to have the best and newest camera. But in fact, it's the story. And I've still got the Sony A7 III, which I rent out all the time. And that was one of my first cameras, and people still use it to this day. So it's not like, oh, you know, it's an old camera. It's still a very good camera, and it still holds its own. So I think sometimes we can get so fixated on like the newest things in this industry. You know, there's always going to be a new camera, there's always going to be a new lens. But I think it's about mastering, like, you know, shutter angle, shutter speed, you know, exposure, like storytelling, things like that get overlooked a lot, especially sound design, even things like that.
Yeah.
I wanted to go back to the when we were talking about finding talent. You know, nowadays, especially with the advent of social media, you don't have to look that far, because we are taking these initiatives in our own hands with peer-to-peer organizations, collectives, that you can easily find whatever kind of photographer specializing with whatever you need, easily on Instagram, easily on the internet with organizations like Women Photograph and the Loop and Black Women Photographers, etc. And not only are these organizations presenting worldwide photographers ready to be hired, they are presenting resources that we need in order to succeed as photographers.
To put a positive spin on this, I would probably say that more awareness earlier on, but I actually think that is kind of happening. So that's maybe a good place to come in at. Like, I do think already I've seen a change in my career, and the fact I'm just like surrounded by badass women doing good things, and it's becoming so normalized. But like people younger than me are gonna have it even better, and then people younger than them are gonna have it even better. So I think awareness earlier on is what I would change, but I actually think that's kind of happening. So yeah.
I would say more transparency on the books, laws about pay, about work conditions, about everything related to the jobs that we do, so that we are safe, that we are compensated properly, and that, you know, we have those protections.
I'd like to see more women being included in the photographs that involve them, you know, for the marketing, but for those to be photographers. Like you were saying, you know, not the models. Not people just books. So people who actually know how to hold a camera and how to operate it, being photographed, maybe out in the wilds. Not having been through hair and makeup, you know.
Yeah, like real photos of just people doing their jobs. And those people are just like women doing their jobs, you know.
And make sure that it's like 50-50. And also, you know, another area I think is important is in photographic competitions. I think we should have 50% women judges as well, because I think that would make a big difference.
Yeah, that's a great point.
And I think what you said as well, Angela, having representation in the judging panel of competitions, it is so important, because I only apply to competitions if I could see someone like me, because that means they might be able to understand my story. And a lot of the times, those are the competitions that I kind of get, or the kind of competitions that get back to me.
Yeah, but at least you're applying, because a lot of women don't apply.
My answer when people say, oh, I don't think my stuff is good enough, I always say, well, what have you got to lose?
Right.
Genuinely, what do you, nobody's going to turn up at your house. So you know that picture you put in the competition? It was terrible. We had such a laugh.
Right.
You know, nobody does that. They're just like, great, you know, okay, well done, next time.
That I feel better of what I have accomplished is, without realizing, I ended up in a book at the National Portrait Gallery. And I saw it, it was fine, but then I got home, I bought the book, and I was like, okay, this is such a big thing for me, for people that look like me, because growing up, I couldn't see any female photographers, any Black women photographers, any African photographers. So that was very touching.
Honestly, I'm just like quite proud that I do filmmaking like full time every day. This is literally my job, and I don't think I maybe give myself, I don't think I stop enough to think that I set out to do this, maybe against the odds, and this is what I do now. And I just love it. Like, I find so much enjoyment out of filmmaking and photography.
For sure, this is my, this shoot is my favourite I've done. It's been brilliant. Really happy about that. From a day-to-day point of view, I'm really proud that I don't ever bend to sort of sell cameras. I genuinely want to find the right camera for the right person, and that's a big part of why I make the content that I make. And I hope that helps everyone, and people who are then gonna sort of become the people who are here at the table in the future, hopefully.
I'm proud that I'm still working as a photographer. I'm proud that I am at the level of my career that I'm teaching at the university level. But the thing that I'm most proud of is the book that I co-published called Confronting Women Photographers of the African Diaspora. It was the second book on Black women photographers, featuring 118 photographers from 27 different countries. And I'm very proud of that, because preservation in the archive is very important to me. Yeah.
I'm most proud of creating She Clicks.
Yes.
Hell yeah.
A community of women who are all completely behind each other, who support each other. They just get what it's about.
Yeah, same with me. Like, I'm really proud that I've found my passion. I know how rare that is, and I know that a lot of people spend their whole life looking for it. And I also sometimes look back at, like, I know it sounds so cheesy, but like my younger self, and I just feel proud that I've done her, like proud that I've grown and gone after what I've wanted, and not kind of succumbed to peer pressure and society's pressures, and not listened to other people. And I feel like I've stayed true to myself, and being true to myself, I've also like learned a lot about myself. And I hope that the impact that we all have on this table today and move forward inspires other people. And that's what makes me continue to like work in the field and continue to want to inspire people, because I feel like once you start giving back and building that community, it's just like you become unstoppable. The same with what you built, you know, we've all built up our own communities, and it's like so empowering. So yeah, I'm really excited for the future.
This has been like better than therapy.
Well, women make up 50% of the population, so let's hope in the future that we can see 50% of women in this industry.
Sounds good.
And good wine.
So that
Cheers.